Your brain is broken. Here's how to fix it. In this video, we'll take you from a soy consumer into a base productivity Chad. So you might think that you're lazy. You may have noticed that over time, you don't achieve a lot. A lot of your time just seems to slip away and you're not quite sure where it goes. Well, I mean, you know where it goes. It's just you don't want to think about it too much. I'm going to give you the truth that you need to hear. You're not going to want to. You're going to cry about it. You're going to be very mad. But I think that you need to hear this. When it comes to productivity, when it comes to doing things that are meaningful, society in its current configuration is set up against you. You see, your brain wants dopamine. Dopamine, this is very bro sciencey, but dopamine is the reason why you do anything. It's that feeling that you get when you complete something and you feel good. Yes, I did it. I'm great. I'm smart. And it turns out that your brain just wants that all the time. In an environment where dopamine is difficult to get, that can be very productive because it pushes you to go out and find food. It pushes you to build shelter. It pushes you to procreate, do all the fundamental things that humans are supposed to be doing. However, when you have the current configuration that we have in society, where it's so easy to get dopamine by scrolling for social media, by watching this video, by doing things which generally aren't very constructive, that's when you get into trouble. And so I'm going to give you the best advice that you can get, and I'm going to go ahead and expand on it a little bit. So the advice that you need to hear is that you just have to avoid most of this stuff. You have to not look at your phone. You have to avoid social media. You have to avoid music. You have to avoid video games. Now, people will recommend things like app blockers. However, if you watch my channel, you're probably the kind of person who knows how to circumvent any kind of measures that the ad blocker will put in place. So that's not terribly useful. You just end up playing this weird game between the two sort of parts of your personality, the one which is desperately trying to get you to do something productive and the one that just wants to feel good all the time. And so I don't think that's a solution. At least it wasn't one for me. The solution that worked for me is relearning how to be bored. Boredom is painful, and thus it motivates you to do things. I remember, despite my white hair, I'm actually 33, and I grew up in Eastern Europe. This is 1997 in Romania. There's just nothing to do whatsoever, especially in the countryside. And so you had to entertain yourself. You just had to, remember, just looking for my parents' or grandparents' books, just rifling for their stuff, because that just had nothing to do. It was boring. And I wanted to recapture some of that. I wanted to force myself to become bored. And there are a few ways in which you can do this. First of all, you should learn to hate your phone. I'm looking at my phone right now. I kind of want to slam it against the wall whenever I get the opportunity to. It can be useful, such as recording this video. However, other than that, maybe replying to WhatsApp messages from clients. Other than that, I don't really use my phone for anything. Maybe some Duolingo. Like if I ignore the Duolingo, I maybe spend less than 5 minutes per day looking at my phone. When it comes to my laptop, it's a bit of a different story, just because I freelance. On some days, I can actually get my screen usage down to about 5 hours per day. And the way in which I do this is by changing, or the way in which I did this was by changing my defaults. So for most people, their default state is go to Instagram or go to TikTok, right? They're doing some work. The next thing they know, they're in their browser, they're looking at TikTok, and they ask themselves, how did I get here? What happened? Can you hear that chicken in the background? I'm unironically in a cabin in Norway. There's some chickens outside. Anyway, distractions. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. You have to change your defaults. And for me, the default was just going on YouTube. Whenever I felt a bit bored, I just pause my work and go on YouTube. And then the next thing I knew, an hour would go by and I haven't done anything. And so I decided that my new default would be a set of things. Daydreaming is one of them. So if I'm bored and I want to go on YouTube, instead I just get into bed, I just stare at the ceiling and just think about things, organize my thoughts, anything but look at devices. Reading is another default habit. I have an ebook reader. Even though I love paper books, I'm traveling, and so an ebook reader is really the only solution that's viable. Hiking, I try and do between 2 and 4 hours of walking or hiking per day. Doing that in London is easier. But doing it in Norway is a lot more difficult because the terrain is just so different. I don't know if you can see the outside right now. I'm going to show you a little video, but it's very hilly. There's a lot of difference in elevation, and so a 4-hour hike around here is a lot more brutal. But the rule is that when I'm doing these things, I can't have any other stimulation. So if I'm daydreaming, I'm just daydreaming. If I'm reading, I'm just reading. And if I'm walking or hiking, I'm just doing that. I have my phone on me just for emergencies, but I'm not allowed to listen to music or podcasts, anything like that. I'm just looking at the pretty trees and hugging them and petting cats and stuff. It's great. It's great use of your time. And what this does over time is it actually trains you to be able to focus. When was the last time? I'm actually quite enjoying that chicken, the little clucking. Leave that in. Don't cut that out. What it does is it helps you focus. It makes you really good at it. And so you can actually sit down and do something for some amount of time. And then you can actually start to discover that doing things that you want to do that are productive can actually be really fun to do. Now, another thing that I've done is changing my environment. Sometimes your environment just isn't very conducive to productivity. This isn't something that most people can do. I'm in a very fortunate position where I freelance, and so I can just travel. Right now I'm in Norway. I'm gonna go somewhere else in a couple of months. I don't know. I haven't really planned on it. But I find that just changing your environment, just changing where you sleep, is a really good way to help reset your brain, to reset your habits. And so, because these things work in cycles, I really hope the chicken's not very distracting. I might spend some time, maybe a month, being really, sort of monk-like state. And then I'll find myself slipping. All of a sudden, I'm watching a bit more YouTube, I'm spending a bit more time on Reddit, or I'm spending more time reading comments. And the next thing I know, I'm watching Luke Smith for 3 hours a day. And that's just not... He's a great YouTuber, but my God, I've got better things to do. I guess the takeaway is that these things work in cycles, and that the solution is never going to be external. You can try Pomodoro, you can try ad blockers, you can try locking your phone in a cupboard. I've seen people have these devices where they physically lock away their phone for a certain amount of time, which I think is a bit much. I think the solution can never come from the outside. The solution can only come from the inside. It can only come from within. Because otherwise you're just playing games. You're just playing around pretending like you have self-control. And the only way to gain self-control is to suffer. So I guess that's my takeaway. Go out there and suffer. See you next time. Bye-bye.